You've heard of K-pop. You've definitely heard of K-dramas. But what about K-coffee? Yeah, you heard that right. Today, we're diving into the story of a nation that's completely and utterly obsessed with coffee. A market that grew so big, so fast, that it literally hit a wall. And the surprising, high-tech solution that could change where your next cup of specialty coffee comes from.
Let's just start with the number. 405. Any guesses what that is? Well, that is the average number of cups of coffee that a single adult in South Korea drank last year, in 2023.
Now, to put that in perspective for you, 405 cups a year? That blows past the US average of 318. And get this, it's nearly 4 times the global average, which is only about 105 cups. This isn't just some trend, you know? It's a full-blown national obsession that's turned South Korea into a true global coffee superpower.
And, you know, when you start comparing South Korea to other big coffee countries, things get really interesting. I mean, sure, the US has a way bigger market overall. But South Korea? It has around 100,000 cafes. That number just dwarfs what you see in the US or Germany. It's that incredible density that creates this hyper-competitive, totally unique market.
Just to really paint a picture of how dense that market is, think about this. In 2023, South Korea had about 100,000 cafes. That is double the number of convenience stores in the whole country. So just imagine, a cafe on pretty much every single corner, and then probably another one right across the street. It's wild.
So all this intense competition, it led to something that had never happened before. For the first time ever in 2023, the total number of cafes in South Korea actually went down, a net decrease. More cafes were closing their doors than opening new ones. It was like a huge warning sign that the boom times, that explosive growth, it was over. The market had officially hit its limit.
So what does that term market saturation really mean? Well, it's basically the point where a market just can't create any more new customers. The growth grinds to a halt, and the fight for the customers you already have becomes absolutely brutal. And that is the tough economic reality for pretty much every single cafe owner in South Korea right now.
And this brings us to what you could call the Great Korean Coffee Paradox. So on one hand, you've got this nation that's absolutely obsessed with coffee. On the other hand, you have a cafe market that's completely packed, it's full. And then, to top it all off, you've got this massive weak spot. Almost 100% of their coffee beans have to be imported.
So you've got a saturated market, and you're totally dependent on imports. What do? Where does an entire industry go from here?
Well, the answer that's emerging is as surprising as it is ambitious. What if South Korea could actually break free from relying on imports? What if they could just start growing their own coffee? Now, on the surface, that sounds pretty much impossible, right? I mean, almost all of the world's coffee is grown in what's called the coffee belt. It's this region around the equator that has the perfect tropical climate that coffee plants crave. And South Korea, with its cold winters and 4 distinct seasons, it's way, way outside of that zone. So how on earth could that even work?
The answer, in one word, is technology. Korean farmers are spearheading a whole new solution. The challenge is pretty obvious. You've got to beat the cold winters and the scorching summers. The solution? Build these amazing, high-tech, climate-controlled greenhouses, what people are calling smart farms. And inside, they use technology to automate literally everything. We're talking temperature, humidity. They can even create fake dry and rainy seasons to trick the coffee plants into flowering. It's like they're recreating the perfect climate of Ethiopia, but inside a building in Korea.
And look, this isn't some futuristic theory. It's happening right now. So let's meet the actual pioneers who are making this whole K-coffee thing a reality.
Okay, so 2 key people are really leading this charge. First up, you have Cha Song-ha in Hwasan. He's running the largest coffee smart farm in the whole country, and he's using his background in microbiology to create these really unique fermentation processes. Then you've got Lee Woon-jae in Gohong. He's a leader who has developed special anaerobic, that means oxygen-free, fermentation methods to make super high-value specialty coffee. See, these guys aren't just farmers, they're agricultural innovators.
And their whole strategy really is summed up perfectly in this quote from Lee Woon-jae himself. He says, "To overcome high production costs, we must produce high-quality coffee.
Korean coffee has competitiveness in the specialty market. And he's right. He knows they're never going to compete with, say, Brazil or Vietnam on sheer volume or low price. The only path forward is to be the best, to compete on quality.
You see, the future for Korea's coffee industry isn't about making more coffee. It's all about making better coffee, more innovative coffee. And this big shift, it isn't just happening on the farms. It's happening across the entire industry.
And the proof, as they say, is in the numbers. If you look at the data from the Korean Patent Office back in 2018, you'll see that nearly 60%, 60, of all new patents related to coffee were for something called functional coffee. The old school stuff like roasting techniques or new blends, that's becoming a much, much smaller slice of the innovation pie.
Okay, so what exactly is this functional coffee that's driving all this change? Well, think of it in a few ways. It might be a coffee that's been specially fermented to have less caffeine but more of those healthy polyphenols. Or it could be a blend that's got healthy stuff added in, like ginseng or vitamins. And it can also just be a coffee with a totally new and unique flavor that was created using those advanced fermentation methods we just talked about. Really, it's all about adding value that goes way beyond just getting a simple caffeine hit.
So you go from a market totally saturated with coffee drinkers to this new, high-tech frontier of coffee producers. The story of K-Coffee is just this fascinating look at how innovation can be born out of necessity. And it leaves us with one final thought, one big question, really. You know, with everything changing, the climate, our tastes, it makes you wonder, could your next cup of amazing high-end specialty coffee be proudly stamped Made in Korea?